The session with the prayer. ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Ramakrishna, the Great Master, or Leela Prasanga, written by Shardanandaji Maharaj. Yesterday, or in the last class, we were looking at mother of Sri Ramakrishna, that is Chandramani Devi. She got back the news that as soon as Ramakrishna took up the work of worshipper of Mother Kali in Dakshineshwar, Avatarani, again he went into that divine inebriation or intensity of sadhana. Whatever Ramakrishna would take up, it would not be mediocre or very slow, but it would be always intense, dynamic. So Ramakrishna jumped into it. So no more looking back. After coming from Kamarpukur, taking up the work of doing the worship of Divine Mother, again Ramakrishna plunged into that wonderful sadhana. So many of us will be wondering what is the life of sadhana. All these many days which we are discussing, it is nothing but how Ramakrishna behaved. That's why you can see our Shardanandaji Maharaj is not taking the life or addressing the life of Sri Ramakrishna in a chronological order. So he is dealing this beautiful life of Sri Ramakrishna, Leela Prasanga, the sports, in such a way, he has arranged it in such a way that everything has been brought into such a group that it will help us in our sadhana to understand. You can see the heading, you can see the subheadings, everything to make it so practical. And we as sadhakas, we as mumukshus, we can gain lot of lesson. So we give Sunday a holiday, we give Saturday a holiday for work and everything. On that day, we give up our meditation, puja, and everything, and no thinking of God, nothing, no religious activity, just sleep and enjoy. And whenever we get an opportunity, we just try to escape from all our activities. But on the contrary, you can see Ramakrishna is so much intensely doing whatever sadhana he takes up. So that intensity is needed if you want to reach the goal. It may be in your worldly life, it may be your regular worldly goals, like getting into good positions in your office or business or education, wherever you are. So if you have this intensity of mind, then you can see your progress will be very fast. So here Ramakrishna is setting us an example of what is intensity of sadhana, who are real sadhakas. Many a times Ramakrishna used to tell later on to his disciples, whatever I have done, you do 1/16th of its part. You will very, very easily, you need not do all the things which I have done. It's not at all necessary. Just do 1/16th of that part, even lesser than that. Put some effort. That will be enough for you to reach the goal. As a incarnation, as a world teacher, to set an ideal to different people. So Ramakrishna had to take up so much of difficulty, putting in so much of intense effort. So it was not for his own reaching the goal, but it was for us to set an example, to be an ideal. So he has to do it in perfection, totality. So you can see now he doesn't waste any time. The moment he comes back from Kamarpukur, he just dives into that spiritual practices. Now, various other treatments were started by Madhurnath Babu and Hridayram. And we also came to know that Ganga Prasad Sen, the cousin or the relative of another doctor who Ramakrishna was treating, he could recognize for the first time as a doctor that it was not the physical ailment, but it was because of the divine inebriation. We saw that in the last class. Ganga Prasad examined him carefully and prescribed new medicines. Then there was with him another physician from East Bengal. Attracted by the master's look and thinking deeply over his disease, he said it appears from the symptoms that he is in a state of divine inebriation. It is not a physical malady. So now, gradually, the news reached Kamarpukur. See, even in the days of Ramakrishna, that is 200 years back, you can see though there was no communication, no telephone, no WhatsApp, no mobile phone, news can travel very fast, you see. So that can show how people are intensely into spreading news. You can see the human mind tendency we have. We want to, we enjoy. There is a sadistic enjoyment in calumny and spreading the news of other people. We are not bothered about our own problems and try to resolve them. But on the contrary, we waste so much of our energy in doing all these nonsenses. So spreading news here and there, go on. So now, in those days where there was no phone, nothing, no Twitter, no Facebook, you can see the news has spread so fast. It has reached the ears of Chandramani Devi. Gradually, the news reached Kamarpukur, having no other alternative. Now, Chandra Devi undertook a complete fast unto death. It's called Hatya. The Sanskrit term is Hatya, or the Bengali term is called as Hatya. Hatta, the pronunciation is Hatta. So that practice is even there in all parts of India. They come, they wherever the temple, in the temple, if there is the name that the Lord is very active there, Jagrata Devata, they go and do all these vows. So now Chandramani Devi, who had deep faith in God, see, this requires deep faith, and she had so much of love towards the child, knowing that the ancient Shiva of Kamarpukur, ancient Shiva is called there as, the Bengali term is Budo Shiv. Budo means old, very old. The term, when it is used in Hindi or Bengali, in Bengali it is called as Budo, but in Hindi it is called as Buddha. Buddha means old. But it has come from the Sanskrit word, but now the Buddha and Budo is used in a different sense. Old hag, old person, so very old. So to utter such things, they use this in a negative way. But the original Sanskrit word is, it comes from the Sanskrit word vriddha. Vriddha means senior. So here it has been used in the sense of the Shiva who was ancient. So not from the regular use of Bengali and Hindi, Buddha or Budo. It is Vriddha, Vayovriddha. So we use just like senior citizens. But here it is ancient. So from ancient times, this Lord Shiva is very active. Lord Shiva's manifestation here in this temple. So it is called Budo Shiva. So there, the name for Shiva, knowing that the ancient Shiva of Kamarpukur was an awakened deity. Chandramani Devi went to his temple and lay prostrate without food and drink. So our very sattvic way of, rather intense way of trying to please the Lord, you can see here. So turn everything, your anger, your distress, everything, if you turn towards God, instead of suppression, it becomes sublimation. You can see now the term sublimation, which people should know. We should never suppress anything. So if you suppress, it goes down to your subconscious mind or whatever your conscious mind, and it will start troubling you in the form of many diseases, or it may come to a stress. It may then become take you to depression and so many other psychological problems. But we should never suppress anything. What is to be done then? Sublimation. How to sublimate whatever you have, worries, anger, you have lust, you have greed. Don't suppress it, sublimate it, turn everything towards God. So then it becomes sublimated and it will become divine, it will be divinized. Then it will lift up in your spiritual life. That is the way you can turn everything into very useful tool for yourself. See, all these things like Ashtapasha, then the Arishad Varga, they're all emotions. They are in us. We have been developing from millions of lives and years, and they are in us. So you can't just take away all those things, egotism, overnight. So what is the best way? Ramakrishna has taught us: sublimate it, give it a Godward turn. Ramakrishna used to tell, when you are having so many problems with these Arishad Vargas, the sixfold enemies, Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsarya, Lobha, Moha, and the Ashtapashas and all these things, these bondages, the emotions in the subtle form, the vasanas. So don't go to suppress them. The more you suppress, the more you will get psychological disorders. You'll get so many diseases of the mind. But you have to give a Godward turn, sublimation, give it a higher turn. So you have anger, you have anguish, you have anxiety, do you have stress, you have depression, everything give a Godward turn. So Ramakrishna used to tell, if you don't like South Pole, suppose you hate South Pole, don't go on pushing South Pole with your legs. Go away, go away. With your legs, you will go to the South Pole, Antarctica. We are very near to the South Pole here. In Johannesburg, South Africa, that's why it's called South of Africa. You have to come down, deep down from the equator to the South Pole, towards the South Pole. I think from Cape Town, the tip of, just like in India, we have Kanyakumari, like that, the tip of South Africa, that is called Cape Town, where Vasco da Gama came and discovered the path, the sea route to India. So then he named it as Cape of Good Hope. So we all study that in Indian history about Vasco da Gama. So there, from there to this South Pole, it is just maybe 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers, or even lesser than that. That's why you can see the winter is too severe here. And penguins from the South Pole, they come swimming towards the Cape Town. When in very much too much of winter, they cannot withstand that. Maybe to give birth to the young ones, they come down to Cape Town swimming. So it's so near. So suppose you don't like South Pole, then if you go on pushing the South Pole with your leg, go away South Pole, you are becoming more and more nearer to the South. So if you go on suppressing, thinking, worrying, trying to remove your Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsarya, all those things, lust, greed, all these Ashtapashas, you'll be meditating. You will be thinking deeper on them. So they will go deeper and make a big presence in your mind, subconscious mind. It's very dangerous. Then they will come back whenever you are weak. They will come back with redoubled force and trouble you. So what is the best way Sri Ramakrishna and the life is showing here, Shardananda Maharaj is showing? Don't suppress it, sublimate it, give it a high turn. So that was Ramakrishna has told in the teaching. Do you have karma? Do you have krodha, lust, anger, and all these things, the sixfold enemies? Don't suppress it. Give it a Godward turn. How? So now what did Ramakrishna tell? If you don't like South Pole, don't go on pushing it, but rather walk towards the North Pole. If you go towards the North Pole, automatically the South Pole is left behind. Then there is no question of pushing the South Pole or getting angry on the South Pole. You are automatically leaving it behind. So what is the remedy? Move towards North Pole. Walk towards North Pole. Automatically the South Pole is, which you don't like, is left behind. So don't go on hating. Don't go on suppressing your thoughts, your emotions. Rather give it a Godward turn. Angry, be angry with God. Greed, be greedy to get more and more about God. Everything, lust, karma, yeah, turn your intense desire to realize God. There is also a system in the Bhakti school of thought, it is called Madhura Bhava. You can even think God as your spouse or your lover and send all your lust or love and everything towards God. Then even that deepest love and lust will become sublimated. Everything. Hinduism is so special that it will give you so easy method by which you can just turn that all the even the bad things to a God, and it will sublimate, it will divinize and help you to go forward in spiritual life. See, this is very helpful for the all the sadhakas, and Shardananda Ji Maharaj is bringing in here. What did Chandramani Devi do? She is now the mother of Ramakrishna. She is so much worried. She's full of anguish. She's anxious for her son. So what did she do? The intensity, the pain, she turned towards the Lord. So she went, knowing that the ancient Shiva of Kamarpukur was an awakened deity. She went to his temple and lay prostrate without food or drink. Here she got the instruction. Now, when she laid there for some days without food and drink, the Lord now appeared to her. Can you imagine? The Lord is waiting for us devotees to come, but we don't want God. At least make use of these opportunities. When you get pain, when you get trouble, now we are all being troubled by this pandemic, the fear. So make this an opportunity. Whatever the calamity can be, made an opportunity. Turn it towards God, and it will drag you to spiritual life. It will push you. It will give a Godward push and shift and drag. So how is that? I always give the example of the Indian scientists in the ISRO, equivalent to NASA. We have our space research organization, ISRO. So there the scientists are so intelligent. What are they using? All the other country people are using so much of fuel and other things, modernization, sophistication to put the satellite or anything rocket to the space to remove this Earth's gravitation. To that gravity pull is so much 9.8. If I'm right, I don't know meters or kilometers per second square, because it's acceleration. I've forgotten that long back 35 years. I have read all those things. 9.8. It may be meters or kilometers per second square. I do not know that. So that is called escape velocity. So that gravity, the pull of the earth, you have to escape that. Then only if you have to put so much of thrust to your rocket or that transport vehicle, that it will be put out to the space. It will escape from the escape velocity of the earth. So the downward velocity. So the G, it's called G. So what do they do? Now you know that earth is rotating. There's a rotation. So much of speed, the earth is rotating. So much of speed. Can't imagine. If there would have been no gravity, then all of us would be thrown out to the space. That is the amount of speed it is turning rotation. Over and above that rotation, there is revolution. It's spinning just like a top around sun like this. First is the rotation and then the revolution. So much of high speed. Very high speed. You can't imagine. See, do you feel do you have any head reeling or something effect, even though it is rotating at such a high speed and the revolution? Do you have any head reeling? No. See how you can imagine what is the greatness of God, how well everything is planned. There is cosmos in chaos. There is so much of chaos, but you can see the cosmos, the well planned this thing of God, the Lord's hand can be seen here. So the Indian scientists, what they do, they use the force of the rotation as well as the revolution. So they will select the place, and it is there in Andhra Pradesh, near that Andhra Pradesh, there near the Bay of Bengal, that Sea of Bay of Bengal. So there is a place, there is an island. So they have chosen that place. So always the satellite will be put to the space from that place. So the place and the time will be suited, will be made in such a way that the rotation of the earth and the revolution of the earth will be used by the rocket to put it to the, not only the fuel, so much of fuel is reduced. We did not put that extra fuel, so the rotation and revolution of the earth itself is used. So they are such intelligent scientists, the Indian scientists there in the ISRO. So they're not wasting money, you see. That's why with very less cost, they are putting satellites to the earth. Very less cost, damn cheap. So such is the brain of the scientists there in ISRO. So now, we being spiritual aspirants, why can't we use so much of energy is there in us? All that energy is working in different ways. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. Different energies are there. Then there are still subtle energies, kurma, krikala, devadatta, and so many other energies working. So the thought energy, the mind energy, so much of heartbeat, so many other energies are working. So now the sadhakas, our rishis and shias, all these emotion, the thought energy. Now, how to give a upward? Now the drag of the worldly thing, just like the gravity, is always keeping us to this body-mind complex. So how to overcome that? Give it a Godward turn. Use all those energy, turn it towards God, and that will help you. Just like the ISRO scientists are being helped by the rotation and revolution of the Earth. So like that, our own forces which are trying to pull us down, give it a Godward turn, lift you up towards God. So now that is called sublimation. It's not suppression. You can see that mother got the news there. What is that? Chandramani Devi undertook a complete fast unto death before Lord Shiva for the recovery of her son, Ramakrishna, knowing that the ancient Shiva of Kamarpukur, Bodo Shiv, was an awakened deity. She went to his temple and lay prostrate without food or drink. Here she got the instruction from the ancient Shiva. What did the ancient Shiva? Either he came to her dream or gave a vision to her and told, the ancient Shiva told to Mother Chandra Devi, he commanded Chandra Devi that she would have her desire fulfilled. She wanted to get the remedy for her son Ramakrishna's insanity, or what do you call that, disease. She thought that it was a disease or some insanity. So now Lord Shiva, that ancient Shiva, told her she would have her desire fulfilled if she undertook that vow in the temple of Shiva of Mukundapur. There is another temple of Shiva, Mukundapur. The Lord is awake. There, it was not famous for that. It was not an awakened deity. But here, the awakened deity, Buddha Shiv, the ancient Shiva, gave the instructions that her wish would be, she would have her desire fulfilled if she undertook the vow in the temple of Shiva of Mukundapur, where she went and undertook the fast again. So much of faith. So we get so commanded in our life in the form of dream or some seniors, elders, father, mother, guru, but we don't work it out. We don't put it into action because we don't have faith. No faith. Doubt and doubt and doubt. We are all doubting Thomas. So much of doubt. Samshaya Atma Vinashyati. A person who is full of doubts cannot progress forward. Vinashyati means he will go back. The exact meaning, literal meaning is destroyed. That means he will not have spiritual benefit. So doubting, doubting, doubting. Everything you doubt, everything negative. You should see some people while they are acting, talking, everything. It starts with no. Even they themselves are talking. Nobody is obstructing them. Their words will begin with no, not, I cannot, I will not do, it's impossible. So all negative, negative. Watch your words and see. Everything is negative. So doubting, everywhere doubting, no faith. So it's very, very important for a spiritual aspirant here to give up that negative tendencies. No, I cannot. It's impossible. I will not do it. I cannot. I'm not going to do it. Negative, negative, everywhere negative. Be positive. Be positive. Take up, have faith in the words of the seniors and gurus. Go forward. That's what is very, very much required here. So Mother got the command here, Chandramani Devi, from Lord Shiva, there in Kamarpukur, Vriddha Shiva, ancient Shiva. Immediately she went to the Shiva of Mukundapur, no doubting. Just she rushed there and started doing this hatta, or this fast unto death, giving up sleep and food and water and everything. So now the surprise was she undertook that vow in the temple of Shiva of Mukundapur, where she went and undertook the fast again. Although she knew that nobody used to undertake such fast in that temple, because there was no tradition in those days that, see, each temple, each place, each this thing have their own significance, speciality. For example, suppose you go to Tirupati, this is the special thing there, Balaji. So below there is one Shiva temple, the Vayulinga, the famous Kalahasti. There it is for the Rahu and Ketu dosha. It was worshipped by Rahu and Ketu. There is a temple for them too. If you go and do some rites there, if you have some Rahu and Ketu problem, that will be solved there. So if you go to Shuchindram, there is a different thing which you can have. If you go to Somanath, it is different. If you go to Kedarnath, so like that, there will be different things. Kashi Vishwanath, they go to Kashi Vishwanath to have liberation. They will take bath in Ganga to remove their sins. They will go to Mother Narmada and stay on her bank to go progress forward in spiritual life. She helps the Mother Ganga, just like Mother Ganga. This Mother Narmada is the Shiva Putri. She was born by the sweat of Lord Shiva. When Shiva was trying to kill those demons, they had special cities. It's called Tripura, three cities. They were flying like satellites. And there was a boon to them that nobody could destroy it. It was impregnable. So nobody could destroy it. So it was only Lord Shiva who could do that. He was the best archer. Nobody is superior to Lord Shiva in the archery. So Shiva taught that arms and training to Parashurama, one of the avatars, before Ramachandra, of Vishnu, the avatar was Parashurama. So Shiva himself trained Parashurama in this special warfare, martial arts and everything. So she was a great martial arts specialist. So he took the bow and arrow, and he waited to shoot that. So the boon was all the three, they would come very rarely in one line. Tripuras. If you hit one, it will not this thing. All the three should be hit and it should be destroyed at a time. Then only they can be destroyed. That was the very tough boon they had. So it was only possible by Shiva. So Shiva took the arrow and the bow and waited. So he was waiting, aimed at that. He was waiting for the three cities to come at one place. That's why Shiva is called Tripurari. One who has destroyed the three cities of the demons. He was waiting and waiting with all the this thing, concentration. So when he was waiting with the arrow pulled back to just to release it and to destroy it, so he started sweating. So from that sweating, this river came up. That is Narmada. She is Shivaputri. She is a spinster. She is not married, just like other rivers like Ganga, Godavari, and other things. This one, Narmada, is a spinster. She is always meditating, sadhaki. So whoever goes to her bank, Narmada River, it starts in Amarkantak, flows through Omkareshwar. From Madhya Pradesh, it will enter into Gujarat and it will flow through all Gujarat. You know that recently, when he was the chief minister, now the present Prime Minister Modi, earlier there was a dam. So he raised it and made that river to go backwards to inundate, or what you call, for the agricultural purpose of all of Gujarat. And now, overnight, after that was done, all the people, the farmers in Gujarat became millionaires. They became, because they could grow 3, 4 crops even when there is no rain. Otherwise, Indian farmers have to depend upon the rain. Modi did such a great work. He raised that so much of opposition, so many, what do you call this, environmentalists, that and this, who are working against India. If they are working for good, that's a good thing. But they receive monies and other things from the foreign people to suppress Indian progress, suppress, what do you call, Hinduism. They work taking money. So many Indians, they'll be doing that. Just for money's sake, they are ready to sell their own country. So they didn't care for those people. So much of opposition he built. So that is Mother Narmada. So it is flowing. So now whoever goes there on the bank of Narmada and sits and meditates and does sadhana, what will Mother Narmada do? She will help that sadhaka. So Narmada is for sadhana. Ganga is for last time to give up your sins and die for death, to give sadgati. But Narmada is for progressing in sadhana. So all the sadhakas, sadhus, whoever it might be, anybody going and doing sadhana on the bank of Ganga, sorry, Narmada. Narmada is spinster and she is sadhaki herself. So she will provide food to him once in a day. Wherever, whatever you do on the bank, you are doing sadhana. If you are doing only sadhana, I'm telling you, that is spiritual practices, she will somehow provide food. One of our Swamijis, he wanted to test it. So he went on the bank of that Narmada, he swam into, and there is one island formed by the flow of Ganga, so Narmada, and he went, sat there for meditation and tapasya, where nobody can reach. It is in the midst of the river, fast flowing river. So it's an island. And there too, one tribal from that next village swam with tiffin carrier with food and used to come and give that Swami there. Well, where did you come? So somehow I got command that one sadhu is waiting. My dream, somebody came and told me. So wherever you are on the bank of Mother Narmada, if you are doing sadhana, food will be available once in a day for you to do sadhana. So Mother will be taking care, Narmada. These are all the things in India. These are the specialities for sadhana in India. So much of facility, everything, every drop of water, everything, air, everything is suitable for sadhana. That's why India is called Deva Bhumi, Karma Bhumi, very sacred. So everything is done there for the sake of reaching your highest goal. Yes, you can get worldly desires and others too, but that's not our goal. Our goal is something higher. So everything is made in such a way in India that you will have a push towards spiritual life. So now this temple was not a famous place. Nobody would do this hatya in this temple of Mukundapur, Shiva of Mukundapur, where she went so and undertook the fast again. Although she knew that nobody used to undertake such fast in the temple before, the old lady had full faith in the divine instructions and undertook the fast. Faith is very, very important. If you have faith, you can win everything. Hardly had 2 or 3 days passed. So you will not be simply given immediately on a plate. It is not a cakewalk. She had to fast for 2 or 3 days, even though being the mother of Ramakrishna, the great avatara, Narayana himself came to her womb. And Lord Shiva is also telling that that light came and entered her womb. So you can imagine such a great lady. She too had to undertake fast in this temple of Mukundapur for after 2 or 3 days with full faith. Hardly had 2 or 3 days passed, giving up food and giving up sleep and giving up water. She lay there in the temple prostrate to fulfill her desire. So now hardly had 2 or 3 days passed when she dreamt that Shiva, the great god, more silvery in complexion. Now in her dream she saw Shiva. Everything is tallying with our scriptures. Our scriptures tell Shiva is white like that of camphor. The color of Shiva's body is like that of camphor. You've seen the camphor, isn't it? That's why when here in South Africa, when we are doing Arati, Karpura Arati, so you tell that shloka. You think that that is for Arati. But the meaning is Karpura Gauram Karunavataram. It is a description of the greatness of Lord Shiva, that shloka. So the body of Shiva is, the color is like that Karpura Varna. You know, camphor. So that color of the camphor. So that is the color of Lord Shiva. That's why it is describing Shiva, Karunavataram. Karpura Varnam, Gauram. So the beautiful color of Lord Shiva's body is like that of Karpura. Karunavataram, the what do you call condensing of the Karuna, grace, kindness. So that is Shiva. Shiva is condensed kindness. Karunavataram. So like that it goes on describing here. So now how did Mother Chandramani Devi see the color body of Lord Shiva? It is silvery, molten silvery. So that is the color she saw in her dream. Hardly had 2 or 3 days passed when she dreamt that Shiva, the great god, more silvery in complexion. How the silver color is there? So Rajata Girisha. So Rajata means silvery. Rajata means silvery. Here, South Africa, I have seen people while taking the name because they have not learned Sanskrit or Hindi or Tamil, the words, the local Indian languages. So they everything pronounced in English. So while the word called Rajesh, Raja means king, Isha means Lord, because in English it will be the same thing, R-A-J-E-S-H. They pronounce it as Rajesh. Rajesh. Raja means silver or Rajas, the quality. So the Lord of silver or Lord of the quality Rajas, it becomes Rajesh, they call it, instead of Rajesh. So they don't know the difference, whatever it might be. So here, Rajata means silver. So more silvery in complexion than silver. That is, he was glowing. God more silvery in complexion than silver itself. Bedecked with glowing matted hair. It's called that his matted hair is glowing. What is the color? In Western countries, you tell that red head. So it was something like red hair. So the hair of Lord Shiva is that color. Body color is silvery or camphor like, and the hair of Shiva, the color of the Shiva's hair is reddish in color. So the one of the great lady saint in India, especially in Karnataka, Akka Mahadevi, she started doing the penance in the form of Madhura Bhava. Thus, she was married to a king. She gave up everything. I don't want this husband whose body will die, whose body will decay, grow old. I want that husband who is living forever, eternal. And this thing was directed Akka Mahadevi. Akka means sister, elder sister. Mahadevi was her name. She turned her mind towards God, Shiva, as her husband or lover. So all through her life, she was in that mode. Shiva is my husband. So Madhura Bhava. And she got Shiva, the vision of Shiva. There she describes Lord Shiva, Kenjate, that red hair, that jata, the locked hair of Lord Shiva is reddish in color. So now here you can see all the saints, they have the same vision. It is not varying in different way. So now what is Mother Chandramani Devi having the vision of Lord Shiva in what way? More silvery in complexion than silver itself, bedecked with glowing matted hair. The matted hair is glowing and clad in a tiger skin. Vyagra Charmambaradara. Shiva is called Vyagra Charmambaradara. He is clad in a tiger skin, appeared before her and consoled her, saying, don't be afraid. Your son is not mad. He is in that state on account of a tremendous awakening of the divine spirit in him. Lord Shiva himself coming and reassuring Mother Chandramani Devi, my child, don't be afraid. Why are you afraid that your son is diseased or insane? Not at all. Don't be afraid. Your son is not mad. He is in that state on account of tremendous awakening of the divine spirit in him. Thus assured through divine intimation, the virtuous old lady Chandramani Devi offered worship to the great God with her heart purified by devotion and returning home began to serve Shitala, that is the Divine Mother, and Raghuvira Ramachandra with undivided attention for her son's mental peace. So she came back because reassured by Lord Shiva himself. What was the assurance given by Lord Shiva? Can you imagine? The Lord himself coming and assuring mother, your son is not mad, he is not diseased, he is not having any problem. So don't worry, don't be afraid. Lord himself is assuring mother. What a great thing. Can you imagine this? Don't be afraid, my child. Your son is not mad. He is in that state an account of tremendous awakening of the divine spirit in him. Thus assured through the divine intimation, none other than Lord Shiva, Devadeva Mahadeva Shiva himself, the virtuous old lady Chandramani Devi offered worship to the great God as a something like thanking Lord Shiva. With her heart purified by devotion and returning home, began to serve Shitala Devi, the Divine Mother, and Raghuvira with undivided attention for her son's mental peace. Many men and women, we were told, have since then been undertaking fasts. After that, that became a tradition there. Maybe if you go to Shiva Mukundapur, earlier it was not that way awakened. Now, due to the command of Bodo Shiva, Vruddha Shiva, ancient Shiva, so here Shiva got awakened due to see Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani, the great saints, the great people, they carry Lord in their heart. So Antarena Gadabrada, they carry the Lord in their heart because of their meditation and devotion. So wherever they go, whatever they do, all that places become Tirtha pilgrimage. So great people, it is not the pilgrimage happens by itself, the places of pilgrimage and the greatness of that place. It is because of the visit of the great people, the saints like Chandramani Devi. Now this Shiva of Mukundapur was not awakened. No people would not go there for this Hatya. So because of the command of Lord Shiva of ancient Shiva, Vruddha Shiva, mother took that vow there. Because of her presence, she did it for the first time there and Shiva was awakened and he blessed her. After that, people started doing that. So maybe people may not be knowing it is Ramakrishna's mother who started this tradition here. So now it has become a very great tradition and people go there and follow the tradition there. They want something, some desire to be fulfilled, they go and offer this fasting to Lord Shiva and get their desires fulfilled. Our Indian mothers are doing that. That's the speciality of Indian mothers. Swami Vivekananda at one place tells there is no power on this universe which the Indian mothers cannot conquer by their loving service. Can you imagine the statement of Swami Vivekananda? None other than the incarnation of Lord Shiva. He's telling about the greatness of our Indian mothers. What is that? There is no power on this universe which cannot be conquered by the Indian mothers by their loving service. Such greatness is there in the Indian mothers, something special which you cannot explain, which is not in other people, because that Indian culture is in the genes, the chromosomes. So, what happens? You can see the mother here started the tradition and it became a popular thing. So, I had heard long back, maybe some 20 or 15 years back in a classroom, that some great lady in France, she was a great actress. So she was going there on the streets, and all people will be watching her movement, the walking style, and everything, the dress she wears, because she's a celebrity. So on the way, she fell due to maybe there was some water or rainwater or something. She slipped and fell down. So she had to go. Her cloth got torn, or maybe it got dirty due to the mud water when she fell down. She went into the new shop, a garment shop, and changed her cloth, put a new cloth, and started walking again to her house or whatever, wherever she was going. So many people were watching that, many other women. So it became a trend. What is that? So going on the street again, go to a new shop, change your dress, and go to another destination. So that became a trend, wearing that special dress. So in the worldly sense, people are following these the Western ladies and other things. But in the spiritual sense, people follow Indian ladies. Indian mothers are a model for that. So after that, Chandramani Devi, whatever she did there, became a tradition. And now people follow this tradition in Mukundapur Shiva. Shiva told, "Don't be afraid, my child. Your son is not mad. He is in that state on account of a tremendous awakening of the divine spirit in him." Thus assured through divine intimation, the virtuous old lady offered worship to the great God with her heart purified by devotion, and returning home, began to serve Mother Shitala, Divine Mother, and Raghuvira, the family deities of that family of Khudiram's family, with undivided attention. That is very, very important. Undivided attention, not half hearted, half baked mind. Undivided attention, full. And returning home, began to serve Shitala and Raghuvir with undivided attention for her son's mental peace. See, they try again and again until they get the result. They don't give up. That is the speciality of Indian mother in spiritual life. They may not be well versed in the worldly things, the present day Western way of rushing towards the worldly enjoyments. But our Indian mothers are very much into spiritual life, though they may not be highly educated. They may be from village, they may be very innocent. But when it comes to spirituality, they are leading. That simplicity itself will put them so much of faith. So we have seen in India every year when the results come, especially the examination results, most of the ranks, most of the high marks, most of the pass percentage is for the girls and women only. The boys miserably fail. The boys many times they score less marks. So all the most of the ranks and most of the pass percentage passing is for the girls. Every time we watch, you can go and watch even now. Why? Because the Indian girls and Indian mothers have faith, intense faith. You can see in them. Boys doubting Thomases. They don't have faith in the words of the teacher, in the words of the guru, in the words of the parents. That's the reason. So they have a lot of faith in them. So that faith is very, very important. Now you can see mother is serving. She doesn't give up. Persistence, perseverance. Even after getting the words of Shiva, she didn't stop. She served Raghuvira. She served Shitalama, praying for the welfare of the son. How intensely they love their children. And they use that for spiritual purpose, you see. They go towards God and get it done. So that is India, that is Indian culture. Now, after that, with many men and women, we were told, have since then been undertaking fasts in the temple of Shiva at Mukundapur. After that, it became a tradition and getting their desires fulfilled. Even now, that is happening. So, reminiscing about his experience of divine inebriation of those days, Master himself started remembering and telling his disciples. The Master used to tell us now and then, such a state is never produced in ordinary people because ordinary people don't have such faith, purity of the mind, and strength of character to do so much of sadhana. Even if they have such, do some sadhana, Master used to tell us now and then, such a state is never produced in ordinary people. Even a fourth of its intensity would have destroyed their body and minds. Their body and minds will be shattered. The personality will be shattered even if they would have done fourth of its intensity. I remained occupied with some visions or other of the Mother, Divine Mother, Kali, Parvati, Durga during the greater part of the day and night that saved the situation because he used to be always having the vision continuously of Divine Mother and different this thing that saved the situation. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for this sheath showing his own body. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for this sheath showing his own body to survive. I had no sleep at all for 6 long years. See, these are the words of Sri Ramakrishna. You know that Ramakrishna would not tell a lie even for a joke. Ramakrishna would not tell lie, or he will be always truthful. Kaya vacha manasa, in thought, words and deed. You're so truthful. If you study gospel and if you study the life of Ramakrishna, you can see he followed that truth to the core, intensely, truthfulness. Even for joke, once he tells, I can't take food, then even if he's hungry, he can't take food. The mind would not allow him because he has told, today I'm not going to take food. So such was the intensity of telling the truth by Ramakrishna. So such a person, he's telling about himself. So no falsehood can come. What is he telling? Ramakrishna is telling during this period of that sadhana, during the period of that spiritual practices, his own words, I had no sleep at all for 6 long years. I had no sleep at all for 6 long years. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna himself. Can you imagine then what will happen to you? Why do the yogis, why do the saints, why do the people like these avatar purushas, they can overcome sleep easily? Because they meditate, they think of God, they have the vision of God, they're constantly in touch with God. Do you know Mother, what did she tell? Be in Bhavamukha 3 times. Divine Mother commanded him. So they will be at the threshold. They can anytime go to the superconscious state. They can anytime come down to the ordinary worldly state. Worldly state in the sense to this waking state of our world. So they are in touch with both. So anytime they want, they can go up. They can come here to this world. He was in Bhavamukha. So now you can see that why do they can have that distinct capacity to control sleep? We people, if we don't have sleep for 2 or 3 days, then we will become mad. 1 week gone, our head will be gone. We have to go to the psychiatrist. So why is that? Because when we go to sleep every day, we should note this. It is there in the scriptures, in the Vedas, in the Mundaka Upanishad or Mandukya Karika, you can tell that Nidra Samadhi Sthitihi. What is happening every day? When we are going to sleep, you can see first stages of the sleep, your mind will be still here, half and half. Just before going to sleep, you can note it. Then it goes to some sort of a small dream state. Then it goes to deep sleep. Then again, you will get back to the dream state. Then you will get back to the waking state. If you carefully watch about your sleep, you can see that. So when you go to the deep sleep, do you know what happens? All your mind, body, everything will just drop down and you will be merging yourself in your soul, which is there already within you. The Atman, the Parabrahma Swarupa is already within your heart. Angushtamatro Purusho Antaratma. As Antaryamin, the Lord is there, the Atman. So in your deep sleep state, every day you are merging in that Paramatma, in that Parabrahma, everybody. So because you are merging in that, that is real rest. It is deep sleep. After getting up from the deep sleep, you come up with so much of refreshed mind. Why is that? Every day you are getting that rest. So can you understand? The real joy, the real pleasure, the real happiness, Ananda, is only in the Lord, which is already within you. You are getting that every day during night, deep sleep. You are merging in that. That's why you get so much of refreshment and joy when you go to sleep. Why everybody wants to sleep? Why do people enjoy sleep? So that is involuntarily you are going there. Then what are the great saints doing? Well, voluntarily, they control their minds, they purify their minds, and try to keep that in the Lord, merge in the Lord voluntarily. Here, involuntarily, we are going into our own Atman or Paramatma Swarupa, Parabrahma Swarupa, merging in that consciousness and getting that Samadhi, high state, involuntarily. But voluntarily, if you do, the yogis do, the great incarnation, whatever Ramakrishna is doing. So you are merging in Parabrahma Swarupa or God. Constantly you are in the touch with God. So you don't need rest because whatever is happening in your deep sleep state, merging in Atman, Paramatman, that highest joy which you are getting is got by voluntarily merging your this thing in God. That is the difference. That's why Ramakrishna could survive so much of 6 years of no sleep. Why can't we survive? Because we are not doing it voluntarily. We want sleep because it will merge in Paramatma Swarupa, Nidra Samadhi Sthitihi, Mandukya. You can go to that and read it for yourself. So, Nidra Samadhi Sthitihi, Ramakrishna had no sleep at all for 6 long years. The eyes lost because he has not slept for 6 long years. What happened? 6 long years, you don't use some of your faculty or your organ. So, what will happen? Ramakrishna lost the capacity of winking. We use our eyelids to wink, open this thing. It is a protective mechanism. While you sleep, you close it. And there is some dust or something coming, air, you close it. Protection mechanism. The eyelids. Because he has not slept for 6 long years. So the power to wink, the power to close the eyes, Ramakrishna lost it. So Ramakrishna is telling the eyes lost the power of winking. I could not close the eyes in spite of all my efforts. I had no idea of passing of time and was not at all conscious of the body. No idea of passing of time. Always thinking of God, merged in the thought of God. See, what is time? Concept of time I have explained. The time doesn't exist. The concept of time comes when there are 2 events taking place. So the gap between the 2 events is called time. So if there is no events taking place, then there is no concept of time at all. So now we have, I've explained last time, the movement of the sun, Krishna Paksha, Shukla Paksha, Amavasya, Purnima, like that. There is movement of the moon. You will be seeing. So the difference can be, so 2 events are taking place. Sun coming up, going down. As such, sun is not coming up because of the movement of the earth. You feel as if sun is rising and setting. So it's a moment, events taking place. So day and night, noon, evening, all these things are events. So to events, then you find the time. Then in the clock in your house, you can see the clock or the wristwatch, the seconds, the what do you call the minutes and hours. They are 2 events. So here Ramakrishna is so much merged in sadhana within himself, within that Paramatma Swarupa, within Divine Mother, that he is not aware of the external happenings at all. So I had gone to Himalayas in Dharali. I had gone to meet her in that Divine. She was at that time 76 years old. She was living in on the top of the Himalayas. I told that I had gone there and I got stuck up in the ice. I had not gone with good preparation with shoes. I had just one stick and some coat or sweater and some topi head on the head, no goggles, special ultraviolet rays protective goggles or anything. I just went there unprepared with just pump shoes and I had to undergo so much of difficulty. That is a different thing. But at the time I met to meet her in Tapovan. She was doing tapasya there in the deep Himalayas where all the time there will be ice, even in summer. So freezing cold, ice and ice everywhere. So at that time she had come back to this place where they keep this Mother Ganga, Dharali, 40 kilometers from Gangotri. So this from Gangotri you have to go to Gomukh, and from Gomukh you have to climb up the Himalayan this thing, you have to go Tapovan, another 5-10 kilometers. So I'd gone there. Then mother was not there, Subhadra Mataji. Her name was Subhadra Mataji. She's alive still. So then I came to know that she's in Dharali, where Divine Mother Ganga is brought from Gangotri to be worshipped during winter when nobody can go to Gangotri. So I went there. She was there. So I stayed there. She gave me food, prepared food, and while she was explaining about all the happenings when she was there doing tapasya, she used to tell that her kutir, wherever she was staying there in the Tapovanam, above at a very high altitude, maybe at about 17,000 feet or 20,000 feet, just like Himalayan Everest and other things on the top of the peak. So much of cold. So in the winter, 2 or 3 meters of ice would cover her door and windows and the whole kutir. So it will become like stone. So if you want to go out to she used to tell that if she wanted to come out and inhale some fresh air outside, then if she opens the door or window, it would be just 2 or 3 meters of ice covering it. It is just like stone. Then she had to take pickaxe and other implements, heavy implements, and cut that ice for hours together. When she would cut the ice and go out, it may be dark, it may be day. Most of the times it would be dead of the night. She would see only stars and other things there, Himalayan sky there. Why? She didn't know what was the time because she was in all the winter she's inside. Whether it is day, whether it is night, whether it is noon, then she could hear so many voices of the devatas and other things speaking. So she told so many things of her experience. That's a different thing. I tell that when you are deeply immersed in spiritual life, you lose the sense of time. So first of all, Ramakrishna didn't sleep for 6 years, long years. He lost the capacity of the eyelids to wink, power of winking. Then Ramakrishna is telling, I could not close the eyes in spite of all my efforts. I had no idea of passing of the time. So no concept of time at all because he may not be in Himalayas, but he has gone within. No external happening. He doesn't know. He doesn't care. He doesn't bother about the external happening because there's no time for that. Where to think of all those things? He's just merged in thinking of God, merged in Divine Mother, merged in Parabrahma Swarupa consciousness. Intense ananda, joy, infinite joy. So Ramakrishna is telling, I had no idea of passing of time and was not at all conscious of the body. Who will think of the body at that time? No idea of body. Ramakrishna is telling, when the attention turned from the mother to the body, even a little, very rarely the mind would come down to the body or need of the body. It would be always immersed in Divine Mother or God, Parabrahma Swarupa in the form of Mother. So even a little, very little, if the mind would come down, even a little to body, I felt apprehensive and thought, am I on the verge of insanity? I stood before a mirror and put my fingers. I stood in front of the mirror and put my fingers into my eyes, straight into the eyelids, to the corona. Put it, eyes would not close. Because now even a little, our eyes close immediately. It's a protective mechanism, reflex action, impulsive action. But Ramakrishna, even if you put and touch the finger into the eyeballs, the corona, it would not close. So I stood before a mirror and put my finger into my eyes to see whether the eyelids can close. I found the eyelids were even then equally incapable of winking. They couldn't wink. I became alarmed and wept, complaining to the mother. Whatever, anything if he felt, all the thoughts, everything directed to mother. Sublimation. So he felt alarmed. So what did she do? What did he do? Worry? Think of it? Worry about it? No. Stress? Depression? No. He wept and complained to mother, just like a child will complain to his own mother, biological mother. So Ramakrishna, alarmed at that, wept and complaining to the mother. Mother, is this a result of calling on thee? Is this what you give us when you call on thee? The trouble? So he wept and complained to mother. Mother, is this the result of calling on thee? Is it the result of my absolute reliance on thee? Because I'm solely dependent upon you, I think of you and I've given up all my youth and all the energy to you. Is the result you give to me? Is it the result of my absolute reliance on thee? And that thou hast given this terrible disease to this body? So now the mother will reassure to him and give him the strength. And the next moment I said, let anything happen to this body. Let the body go if need be. But see that thou dost not forsake me, my dear mother. Divine Mother in the form of that Parabrahma Swarupa in the form of my Divine Mother. Let anything happen to this body. Immediately his mind would change. Who cares for this body? Let anything happen to this body. Let the body go. That's all. It is just like a garment. It will just go. Why should I bother about this impermanent body? Anatman, which is not God. Manifestation of God is very less. Only this body is to be used as an instrument to realize God. That's all. That is the work of that. After that, it is just an instrument, useless instrument. So why should I bother about it? Let anything happen to this. Let the body go if need be. But, O mother, see that thou dost not forsake me. You should not go away from me. You should not forsake me. Do reveal thyself to me and bestow thy grace on me. For, mother, I have utterly taken refuge in thee. See, now Ramakrishna is teaching how to pray. How can we pray to the divine? Whatever you take God as father, you take God as mother, you take God as your child, God, take God as your friend, your master, whatever. How to pray. How to pray intensely with your heart and soul. So now Ramakrishna is showing the way how to pray. Prayer is very, very important. It will help us a lot to remove all our tension, worries, and everything. Prayer, heartfelt prayer. Go to solitude, go to your own shrine where nobody is there, then start praying. Go within you. Ramakrishna used to tell how to pray, how to be in solitude. He used to tell in Bengali, Bone kone mone. What is bono? Bono means forest. Kone, corner where nobody is there. Mone. So, can anybody come to your mind? Is there any place more full of solitude than your own mind? So, go into your mind. Go into a corner where no people is there. If possible, go to a forest. Bone. So, Ramakrishna has to tell how to find solitude. Bone, kone, mone. Bona means forest. Kona means corner. Mona means mind. So you can find solitude in your own mind, dive deep into your mind, nobody will be there. So this is the way Ramakrishna is showing us to pray. How to pray? How can you give completely your mind by prayer? So when nobody is there, where nobody is there, you can just pray to the Lord like this, then all your tensions, all your stress is gone. So Ramakrishna has shown how to pray. Prayer is very, very important tool. You have to pray constantly. Always you can be in that prayerful mode. It will keep your mind in a very high state. So master is playing, let the body go if need be. But see, O mother, thou dost not forsake me. Do reveal thyself to me, mother, and bestow thy grace on me. For, mother, I have utterly taken refuge at thy lotus feet and have absolutely no support except thee. I used to weep thus for some time when my mind would again be filled with an extraordinary ecstasy. The body appeared to be a trifling thing, something unworthy of attention. Then I was blessed with her vision and consoled by her words, assuring me freedom from fear. The moment he used to pray like that, he used to pour out his heart in prayer, then immediately he would get strength of mind. Hear the words of Sri Ramakrishna himself. I used to weep thus for some time when my mind would again be filled with an extraordinary ecstasy. The body appeared to be a trifling thing, sometimes unworthy of attention. Then I was blessed with a vision and consoled by her words, assuring me freedom from fear. So, taking this as a cue, do not neglect your body, do not abuse your body, but instead use this body, mind, and other things, your personality, as an instrument to realize God. Keep it well, keep it healthy, eat food to such an extent where it will be healthy, not to pamper it, not to titillate the nerves and your senses and your tongue. So, you have to take food that much to keep this body healthy, not to pamper, not for fulfilling your intensely your desires. Yes, all do all those things, that it should be at the limit. Everything should be rationed. It should have limit. Then what is the use of this body? Only to realize God. It's an instrument to realize God. That much you can take care of. Not even an inch or even a millimeter above that. So that's why Sri Krishna and Bhagavad Gita used to always tell, Madhyav Panta, don't go to the extremes anywhere. No extremities. Neither you should go on neglecting and refusing and abusing the body. Keep it healthy so that it can be used for sadhana to realize God. At the same time, don't pamper it, and then also you'll be spoiling your health, giving this body only for just like the animals for senses. That for that animal life is better. Human life need not be wasted for that. Human life has been given so that you can give it for higher purpose of realization of the true truth within you. So use that properly. Take care of your body. Let it be healthy. Keep your body clean. Everything. Only to the extent that it will be healthy and it will help you as an instrument to realize God, not above that or not below that. So that's very important. Madhyaf Panta, middle path. Krishna always prescribed in Bhagavad Gita, Madhyaf Panta, middle path. I'll just give you an example of Lord Buddha. Because suddenly, when you read all these things of Ramakrishna, you will get too much of inspiration. Suddenly, overnight, you will go up like a rocket and then fall down, dhaman, below. So it should not happen. It should be sustained growth. It should be gradual growth. So suddenly you should not get these things and then you should start neglecting the body and doing some things. You have to do yoga, you have to do pranayama, you have to keep it clean, you have to take food, healthy food, all those things because it's an instrument for us to realize God. For that only. So Vivekananda used to tell, our goal is neither luxury, nor troubling this body by intense difficulties which we see. The term used by Swami Vivekananda is torturing this body. So he tells the word, our goal is neither luxury nor austerity. Our goal, you have to be austere. You should not be giving your mind and body to luxury. So our goal is neither luxury nor austerity. Then what is our goal? Our goal is God realization. This is the statement of Swami Vivekananda. So what did Buddha experience when he was intensely doing sadhana, sitting at one place? He had taken the resolve, I will not get up from this place under this people tree, the bo tree. Let this body go, die. Let the thundering come, rain come, nothing. Until I realized my goal, God realization, I'm not going to nirvana, I'm not going to get up from this place. Intensely tortured the body. Almost it had become like a skeleton. The body of Buddha had become like a skeleton. No food, no rest, nothing. Meditating and meditating. So much of torturing of the body. So at that time, Mother Saraswati gave him a vision. What is that? What was the vision given by Mother Saraswati to Buddha? So the vision was Mother started playing Veena, the lute, Veena. So what did she do first? She the Veena was tuned in a very low this thing. The strings were not at all tightened properly. It was very loose. Then she played the music on the Veena. It didn't produce good music at all. It was very bad. So it was below the tune. The pitch didn't match. Resonance, there was no resonance. Then after that, Mother Saraswati tuned the Veena, lute, very tight. Everything she tightened very much. Then she started playing. So the music was not good and it was bad. And when she tightened too much and played, then the string started snapping. The cut started getting cut. So that is also not proper. Buddha saw that. What was the other vision? Then Mother started tuning the lute in a very proper way, correct way, very nicely. Balanced way she tuned the lute, put a new string and balanced it very nicely. It started resonating and music started coming out. Beautiful music. So after that, Buddha got the idea, what is Mother showing me? The result was, then Buddha also declared, do not torture your body by austerity. Yeah, austerity should be there. I don't deny that. But neither luxury is not there. It is only be taken properly tuned, just like that Veena, Saraswati did it. Madhyaf Panta, middle path. But who knows what is the middle path to anybody? My middle path may not be your middle path. The other one's middle path may be not his middle path. So we have to choose what is middle path. It should be austere. We should be full of vairagya, but at the same time, you should not destroy your body. Then once it goes to ill health, then you cannot use it for the purpose of sadhana. So you have to maintain the body to such an extent that it will help us to realize God, move forward in spiritual life. No pampering, no luxuries, only to maintain the health properly with healthy food, healthy clothing, clean and neat, give this body for realization of God. That is very, very important. So people should not get sudden vairagya and suddenly do something and spoil your health. No. But Ramakrishna could do it. He was Avatar Purusha. We can do it gradually. We can increase gradually. See your strength of the body. Different people have different strength. So gradually, step by step, you can increase step by step. So now Mother gave him the strength of the mind when he used to pray with intense faith to Mother. The body appeared to be trifling. So I used to weep thus for some time when my mind would again be filled with an extraordinary ecstasy. The body appeared to be a trifling thing, something unworthy of attention. Then I was blessed with a vision and consoled by her sweet words. The mother would console him, assuring me freedom from fear. Then mother would remove the fear from his mind. Again, it was during this time that one day Mathur was astonished and dumbfounded on having an unexpected vision of wonderful divine manifestation in the Master by the inscrutable decree of Mother of the Universe. So now Mathurnath Vishwas is going to get a very special vision in the person, in the body of Sri Ramakrishna. And what a wonderful vision. It will be a revelation for us. So it was had by the decree or will of Divine Mother. We shall see what is that. She will be showing so many things in one vision to Mathurnath. So Ramakrishna is himself telling, what was that vision? Let us see, let us enjoy that. Keep it in our mind. It's something very, very high. What is that vision? Again, it was during this time that one day Mathur was astonished and dumbfounded on having an unexpected vision of a wonderful divine manifestation in the Master by the inscrutable degree of the Mother of the Universe. We have described elsewhere how he had the vision of the form of Shiva and Kali in the Master, both. While Ramakrishna was walking there, he was in his own mood and walking from here to there, thinking of God. But here Mathunath was smoking there, sitting there at a corner, sitting on the chair. He was watching Ramakrishna. Then with the eyes open, he started seeing Lord Shiva walking while Ramakrishna was walking. From here to there, he saw Lord Shiva. When Ramakrishna was coming back, he saw Divine Mother Kali. He had this wonderful vision. Now, we described elsewhere how he had the vision of Mother of the forms of Shiva and Kali in the Master and offered his heartfelt worship to him as veritable God. He was compelled to view the Master with a different eye since that day and to look upon him with faith and devotion. When we see such an impossible event happening, it is brought home to us that the Divine Mother, the will of all wills, Icha Shakti Swarupini, Divine Mother is called Icha Shakti Swarupini. What is that Icha Shakti? The will of the wills. All the wills we have, the totality of all the will, everybody in this world, all the living beings have some will. So she is the master controller of all the wills. She is the empress of all the wills. So Icha Shakti Swarupini. The sum total of all the wills put together is Divine Mother. So it's called Icha Shakti. So here Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling, when we see such an impossible event happening, it is brought home to us that the Divine Mother, who is she? The will of all wills. The will of all wills. Thus bound up both of them inseparably with a cord of love, because Mathur's help and service during the following period of Master's life of sadhana was indispensable. So you can see here, Mother is giving that darshan or vision to Mathurnath Vishwas. Mathurnath Vishwas was sitting there, just he was in his own mood, thinking about his lawsuits and the family, how to maintain the property. He had so much of property. He was just the son-in-law of a queen, Rani Rasamani, so much of estate, so much of property, so much of things, litigation, he had to take care. So he was sitting inside the Dakshineshwar temple, not on the temple, in the premises outside. So in that complex of the temple, so he was having a hookah. In the olden days, they used to, the smoking was different, not the cigarette and other things. So it was in a chillum or something, the tobacco would be filled up with ambers. The embers, the coal would be there, the charcoal, burning amber. And upon that, they would put this tobacco leaf, and then there would be a pipe going down to a base where there would be water. So the smoke would go into that water. Then the pipe would be connected to the mouth for the mouthpiece. So they used to keep that mouth like this. The kings and rajas, golden days, it's called hookah. Or because it was used to make that sound gudu 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 like a frog. So some people used to call it as gudugudi also. Gudugudi. Because that when you're pulling that thing from that water, while that tobacco, essence of tobacco, the smoke would not go and it would not harm the lungs. The smoke and the soot from the tobacco would not go to the lungs. It would be filtered in the water itself. So it would not be dangerous. So they used to pull it. So it would make gudu 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 sound. So it's called hookah. So the olden days kings and other things. So Mathur was like a king, son-in-law of a Rani, sitting there and doing his hookah, thinking of so many other things, his litigation and how to run that, what is the state going on there, he was thinking. Ramakrishna oblivious. Ramakrishna, has been told, is not aware of the time and the outer external things. He was walking from here to there and there to there, thinking of Divine Mother, immersed in his own thoughts. So here, he was that smoking hookah, Mathur Vishwanath, Vishwas, Mathurnath Vishwas saw while Ramakrishna is walking from here to there as Divine Mother Kali. He didn't see Ramakrishna there. He saw Divine Mother Kali walking there. And from there to here, he was not seeing Ramakrishna, he was seeing Lord Shiva walking from here to there. Divine Mother Kali from here to there, and Devadideva Mahadeva, consciousness, Chit, Chaitanya, consciousness, Chit is Shiva. From here to here, Shiva. Then Chit Shakti, the energy of the consciousness, the power of the consciousness, that is Chit Shakti, that is Divine Mother. Consciousness and power of the consciousness. Shiva, Shakti. Consciousness, that is Shiva, then Chit Shakti, power of the consciousness, Divine Mother Kali. So that was the vision, the great vision which Mathurnath have. Ramakrishna himself is telling about that. Again, it was during this time that one day Mathur was astonished and dumbfounded on having an unexpected vision of a wonderful divine manifestation in the Master by the inscrutable decree of the Mother of the universe. So you can see that Divine Mother is showing, and Ramakrishna is also showing to us. His all the teaching was that every time he used to mention again in the Gospel, if you read, my Divine Mother and Shiva are not separate. God and its power, they are not separate. The Parabrahma Swarupa and his and her and the power of Parabrahma, they are one and the same, just like the fire and the burning power. Can you separate the fire from its burning power? Burning energy? Can you separate the milk from its whiteness? You cannot. Can you separate the word from its meaning? You cannot. So likewise, just like the yesterday I showed that or quoted that Kalidasa's verse, Vagartha, Vag and Artha, the word and its meaning. Can you separate it? Like that, Shiva and Parvati, Shiva and Shakti, the Divine Mother and the Lord, they are one and the same. They are not separate. Whenever the same power is quiet, it is not doing the Sushti Sthiti Pralaya, the creation and other things, it is Shiva. Whenever the same Lord Shiva starts functioning, doing all this Sushti Sthiti Pralaya, the creation, the maintenance, and this destruction, then the same Shiva is called Kali. They are not separate. The Lord and its power, Shiva, Shakti. So, through the body of Sri Ramakrishna, the Lord himself is showing to Mathurnath that they are not separate, Shiva and Shakti. And day before yesterday, while I was describing about Krishna, I quoted from Bhagavatam, that is Devi Bhagavatam, Vyasa Maharshi's statement, in which Lord Shiva, Devadideva Mahadeva, is telling Narada Maharshi that Divine Mother Kali, Durga or Parvati wanted to go down to this earth, incarnate for the purpose of establishing the righteousness, destruction of the evil. She was so beautiful. Shiva told, this time you go down to Mother, Divine Mother, he told you go down as take the form of a male form. That is Lord Krishna. And I will take the form. Shiva told, I will take the form, female form. So Shiva became Radha and Kali became Krishna. That's what I told in Krishna Janmashtami, that lecture in the evening. So that is Radha Krishna, the Shiva and Parvati, the eternal parents, the universal parents. Now came the same universal parents became Radha and Krishna, or Krishna, Radha. So here by the vision, the Lord is showing Shiva, Vishnu, Divine Mother are not separate. They are one and the same. So with that vision, Ramakrishna giving that vision to Mathurnath from his own body by the will of the Divine Mother, is showing Shiva and Shakti are not separate. So we all know that from the beginning, Gadadhar Vishnu wanted to be born as the child of Shudiram. He gave the vision. He gave that commandment, I'll be born as your son. And Lord Shiva, that light appeared and went into the body of our great Chandramani Devi. So here Ramakrishna was born due to the combination of Vishnu and Shiva. And now he has realized Divine Mother. So they are not separate. So Divine Mother, Krishna and Shiva, or Shiva, Vishnu, all that same three aspects which we call in Hinduism. What is that? Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. The same thing. Divine Mother, Shiva, Vishnu, they are one and the same. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. So this vision is to be very well taken into our mind. Ramakrishna is showing us the inseparable speciality of Lord Shiva and Shakti. Divine Mother Kali is not separate from Shiva, and Vishnu is not separate from Divine Mother or Shiva. They are one and the same. So let us enjoy this vision from the body of Sri Ramakrishna and keep that. It will be helping us to meditate. So higher aspect of our Hindu religion can be fathomed and we can take into it. Such a wonderful thing. So now, because we are now approaching fast towards 8 o'clock, only 5 or 6 minutes is left. So now this will be the time for question, or if you have to clear any doubts. So this is the time now. If you have any questions on the discussion today, if you have any doubts about this, you can ask questions.
Pranams,
Colin Chetty, please tell, pronounce.
Swamiji, today is
Women's Day.
Yeah. We went very nicely explaining the beauty and the joys of womanhood and the power of womanhood. It's so appropriate, Swamiji. So much appreciated. We wish all the lady guests and mothers in our small family here well over this Women's Day.
Wonderful. Well, such a wonderful gesture from you. But I want to add one more thing. Our Indian culture is celebrating Women's Day not only on Women's Day, but all the time, 24/7, 365 days. So we have to recognize that divinity in our mothers, in all the ladies, and respect that. You know, it so happened when somebody asked Swami Vivekananda when he was in the Western countries, I don't know whether in England or in America, one Western guy approached him and told, why don't your ladies, the women of India, shake a hand with men? Why do they don't do that? In those days, it was all strict and no woman would shake hand with other people. Nowadays, that social distancing and shaking of hand is banned because of coronavirus. I think coronavirus has brought back again this no shaking of hands and embracing and other things. But at that time, when Indian ladies would be maintaining that distance from all the other people other than the husbands, so somebody asked, why don't your ladies or your women shake hand with men in India. Why is that? Do you know what was the reply of Vivekananda? He told, is it possible for you, common man, to go and shake hand with the Queen of England? No, we can't. Why? Why is it? Because she's the Queen. So likewise, all the women of India are queens to us, more than Queen Victoria or more than Queen Elizabeth. We revere all the mothers, especially the Indian mothers, as more than Queen Victoria or Elizabeth, the Queen of England. Not anybody and everybody can go and shake hands with the Indian mothers. So that was the attitude of Indians towards the mother. So we celebrated Women's Day every day. So this is a special thing to remember. So because of this Women's Day, I could tell this fact. So we have to revere and respect the mothers, the ladies as the divine mother.
So well said, Swami. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pranam.
Maharaj, Madhu here, Maharaj.
Yes, Madhu, please tell.
Maharaj, is there a overlap between Rama Avatar and Parshuram Avatar? Were they at the same time? Because
it overlaps because with the end of Parashurama came, though Parashurama is a Chiranjeevi, he is eternally living. Rama gave up his body, Krishna gave up his body and went to Vaikuntha. But Vyasa Maharshi, who is that Parashurama, all these people are eternally living. They are still living. Hanuman. So this Markandeya, due to the boon of Lord Shiva, all are living yet. So now Parashurama, that avatara was absorbed into Rama when he met him. He went to confront Rama. At that time, when he had finished marriage and was coming back, he confronted on the way. Then he asked him to lift that bow of Lord Shiva, Shivadhanus. You know that Lord Rama removed it and strung it, and he respected that. Then after that, his whole, that avatara Shakti was absorbed to Rama. So Parashurama ended his avatarahood with, but he's still staying, but it was absorbed into Ramachandra. So it overlaps. In his childhood itself, Sri Ramachandra, in his childhood, while he had finished this thing, marriage to Sita, and while coming back itself, he meets Parashurama.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? So as usual, today evening also we will be having the Krishna Janmashtami week. We are preparing for the birth of Lord Krishna. So there will be puja of Krishna. We have Swamiji's coming and doing puja of Krishna with elaborately all that you can see. And you also can participate. So many people are doing Krishna puja there. So we do it at 6 to 7:30. So in India, it will be something like 9:30. So everybody can join in and think and meditate on Lord Krishna. And after this, now at 9:30, we have the Hinduism for children. And a very little short time, we teach Sanskrit also to the children. So these are all the programs for today. All of you are welcome to this program. Any other question? Any other doubts? If you have, I can entertain it and clear it.
Namaste. This is Shantanu.
Shantanu, please tell.
Maharaj, you said prayer keeps our mind in a very high state, the mode of prayerfulness. So how to maintain it throughout the day? Like, during the class, our mind is in, at least my mind is in a very high state, or it's in a good state. But later on, like during work and other tensions. So how to maintain that?
Holy Mother has taught. See, Ramakrishna is inspiration and Vivekananda is interpretation and Holy Mother is implementation. So Holy Mother has taught us how to do that. So disciple of Holy Mother was Swami Madhavanandaji. So when the disciple of Madhavanandaji asked him, Swamiji, our Guruji, our scriptures tell that our mind should be always concentrated on God, constantly. So the term used is Taila Dharavat. When you pour oil, see, when you pour water to another vessel, there will be a cut. But when you pour oil, it will be continuous flow. So that's why our mind should meditate like this, Taila Dharavat, like the flow of oil into another vessel, continuity. But we can't do. Swami Vivekananda has introduced the work. So how can we think of God constantly? So we can't do that. So then when this question was confronted and told to Madhavanandaji by his disciple, then Madhavanandaji gave the example of Holy Mother. So I had asked the same question to Holy Mother, and Holy Mother replied like that. So he told about that. Then Holy Mother told, when Madhavanandaji and other people asked the same question, how to think of God always, she very innocently, she told, oh child, we are all ladies. How can we always be in that meditative pose or anything? We have to do work. As ladies, we have to do a lot of household chores and so many other things. We cannot escape. We will be cooking, we'll be washing the clothes, we'll be doing so many things. So, but we also have to not to give up our spiritual life. We should be constantly thinking of God. So the only way is now Holy Mother told, when you are cooking, you need not tell the flame or the electric stove oven to cook. Oh, oven, cook it, burn the rice, what you call, boil the rice or something, boil the vegetable. You need not tell it. You keep that vessel for cooking, and after that you are free. Then why don't you do japa at that time? Think of God. Then you are sweeping. You only 10% or 5% of your mind is sweeping. What about the rest 80%? It will be dreaming and thinking so many other things. So why can't you do japa and think of God at that time? So every moment while you are working, in between, you can think of God. So then after telling that example of Holy Mother, then Madhvanandaji asked, see, I have something for you. See this piece of paper. He showed that piece of paper. Then what is this? He asked him. Then the disciple told Swamiji, it is straight line. No, it is not straight line. Watch it carefully. Well, no, Swamiji, I can see only straight line. No, watch it carefully. Then he magnified that and showed it was many dots. You know that nowadays the computer printing, the old technology was dot matrix printing. So how is the printing done? So many dots joined together makes that straight line, or whatever you are seeing is just dot everywhere. So it is dot matrix. So like that here, so many dots joined together, there was space in between. Then Madhavanandaji explained. So what this dot is, the work you do. And in between the dot, there is a space, isn't it? That empty space, what do? You can think of God. While you are working on the computer and everything, while you're doing now, you will put this thing, go forward, this thing, you have a key in your keyboard, go forward to move forward. When you have to do that move forward, or when you have to do the back spacing, it is all mechanical. So each time you can think of God, one name of the God can be repeated. In between the work, you can repeat the name of the Lord, you can think of the Lord, you can pray to the Lord in a prayerful mode, just like Ramakrishna showed today how to pray. In that prayerful mode, you can do that all this work. And while you are working, just I used to do, just my example, not I used to do. Now I may not be doing as brahmachari when I was doing intensely into sadhana. I used to come walk from Ramakrishna Vidyarthi Mandiram to the Ramakrishna Ashrama where we had to go for food every day. So it was one furlong. While walking, I used to think my mother, Sharda Devi, is catching hold of my hand. I am a small child. She's taking me. While sitting and eating food, I used to feel that I'm sitting on the lap of my mother, and my mother, though I'm eating the food, I used to feel. So, like that, while you are working in your office, or with your child, or with your wife, or with your anything, anybody, you feel that Divine Mother is there with you, or God whom you love, your Ishtadevata is always with you, Ramakrishna, catching hold of the hands and making you do all these things. So is there anything you have to pay for your imagination? Should you pay money for that? No, it is free of cost. Imagination, thinking. The Lord has given you a lot of imagination. We can imagine in this way. I have shown you the one way, but you have so much of your own imagination. So you can go on thinking. Each time you work, you can complete the dot. So gradually the dot becomes too nearer and nearer and nearer. So the space also becomes then the whole work, the whole thing will be a continuous thought of God. That's how Mother has shown us the way, and Madhavanandaji putting that dot and filling that line, he has shown us the way. So this is the way you can constantly think of God. It will become a straight line. Gradually, you can increase that, the space between that dot.
Thank you.
Yes, Shantanu. Any other questions? Any other doubts? Okay. I think nobody has any questions or doubts. I'm going to close the session with the prayer. Om Priyatam Pundari Kakshah Sarvayagneshwaro Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishnaarpanamastu. Namaskar. Om Namo Narayanaya. Jai Shri Ramakrishna.